Okay, we're going to try to get back on schedule, and we're going to go to the Chief Financial Officer's report. And then we're going to go down the agenda and fill in everywhere we haven't touched yet. And hopefully, we'll move along swiftly.
Tim, Chief Financial Officer's report.
I went through the June financials, well, for the month of June.
What page, Tim? Just because we've been bouncing all over. In board book.
Just my report. The operating revenue for the month was $280,000. The revenue for all funds was $1.3 million. $1 million of that was revenue in the capital projects fund. It was the money that we transferred from working cash. The operating revenue for the year was $22 million, a little over $22 million. It was $174,000 or 1% over budget. And I highlighted, well, we came in on the tax revenue, we came in under budget by $326,000, but that was more than offset with the other items that I highlighted in the report. On the expenditure side, the operating expenditures for the month were $1.6 million. The total expenditures were $3.7 million. Again, that includes $1 million in expenditures in the working cash fund for the transfer to capital projects. The operating expenditures for the year without the working cash transfers were $21.8 million. And we ended the year with $16.9 million in our operating fund balances. We had a surplus of $183,000 compared to a budgeted surplus of $25,000. And the report that I put together was a review that I didn't have a lot of time to do because of the time it takes to close this out at the end of the year and the date for the board packet. So for the month of August, I'll present a more detailed analysis of the revenue and the expenditures for last year in comparison to the budget numbers. I also included in the report a request from last month with regard to the cell tower revenue. Sprint is on the tower and they've had the fees waived because of the fact they put the tower up. They begin paying this year, so our cell tower revenue will increase by about $16,000, $17,000. Our budget for next year, $87,000, and I highlighted the amounts that each of the three companies, Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint, pay each month, and the percentage increases and the frequency of increases that they have. There was one question with regard to the activity accounts and whether or not we're following the policy. There were no interfund loans during the year exceeding $5,000. In fact, we didn't have any interfund loans. We had some activity in the class of 2013. In another couple of months, that'll be 12 months without any activity, so we'll close that account out. And we've closed a lot of these accounts in the past. What we're trying to do is work with the vendor now to find a way to delete them from the report. At this point, there isn't a delete function on that, but we're working with them to get them to put that in there. This is a separate company. This has nothing to do with
I think if you used a Chromebook, it might work.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa.
So.
Kristen, set up some time for Tim to meet with Bridget.
I got to ask one question on that last one, Tim. If page 61 of the original packet, I brought this up before, and I'm completely confused. English, we're ending the year $5,823 in the red. If that's not a loan, what is it to one of the funds?
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to. I thought we couldn't end any of the funds in the red at the end of the year under the policy, but you said 5,000, and that one's over 5,000.
The reason we're not loaning money from one fund into one account into another is that we expect those negative balances, to be cleared in the near future. In the case of English, we're going to be having some sales in the bookstore when the students start coming in. There's a number of them, I think, that with regard to
Textbook
athletics,
fees.
where we're still waiting for money from the boosters and the Ford fundraiser that we did. When that money comes in, it'll clear those negative balances.
What is a loan in this then? Why does it mention a loan? I mean, when would we do a loan? If we're letting them spend more money that's in there, I don't know any other way to do it.
I don't think in the
except-
4 years I've been your superintendent, we've ever done a loan.
Well, my point is.
Why do we have it in the policy?
No, my point is, what would you call, you're using, if it's not a loan, what is it? Okay, if you give us all money, we all get 5,000 a year, or we can collect money and do it, and I don't have it, and you give me 5,000 to spend it, what are you calling it if it's not a loan? And I asked my concern is we're not following our policy. It's not to, just keep bringing it up. It's, well, that sounds like a loan to me. I'm not an expert on loans, but what is it
We covered this
then?
the last time, didn't know we talked that although this is broken down by this on the sheet, the overall checkbook is managed in one lump fund, so that's
Yes.
what. And so, I know he's right, we did cover this
Yeah,
either last summer or the summer before, we talked about.
Well, again,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're following the policy. It seems, President Bush smells like a duck, looks like a duck. Is it a duck? Apparently not. But I'd like that looked into again, unless other people think that we're wasting their time.
Can we look into the policy and just change the policy? 'Cause
Or something.
Yeah, let's just change the policy, because that, the English activity is borrowing money
To buy
from
books.
other areas.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, that is a loan, whether, so.
So maybe we
So,
could do it.
I think we just need to change the policy that if it's perceived that this fund has the ability to this activity has the ability to repay it, then, then we don't have to include it in the policy. But if there's a situation where it's gonna be over a staggered time frame of a year or something, then we need to get approval or something like that. But we need to, I think, probably just open the door to have the policy looked at and changed.
We'll add that to the policy.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I was gonna change subject.
Because I know you're going through a lot of, I told Mike I actually talked to them on the phone today because I didn't have time to type this all up, but my other concern is that the life safety is zero fund, and I thought we had a discussion that we wanted on the expenditure side, whether it's funded by life safety or not, to include the costs, their life safety costs as life safety funds, because we're telling people we have $9 million or something in life safety. We've already spent money on it, but if somebody wants to look at our financials, it appears it's zero. And I'm concerned, and now this is the end of the fiscal year, I don't know if we can make an adjustment or not, but
We couldn't,
We can't,
if I were correct, what you say, but until you get it approved by the state, you can't.
I don't
file
mean
that
the,
ticket.
the revenue side, I mean the expenditure
Right,
side.
but we didn't get approval until just now.
Right, but I think what Tim,
You did approval is to be able to fund it
What-
with bonds.
right, what I think Tim Walsh is asking, and we did talk about this at the meeting, I don't know if we landed on moving everything to the life safety fund. Like, when I did the breakdown for the board, I mentioned in there that Joel Hatchie's, through traditional maintenance work and work orders, addressed 23,000 and is going to overtime address the next 230. He's addressing that through supplies and materials in his normal supply and material budget. And so I think what Tim Walsh was requesting was that somehow, some way, those expenses are all being tracked under the life safety fund. But the thing, Tim talked with Joel a little bit, Joel's keeping track of those items. The thing that's hard is that the maintenance guy in his room, if on the light safety thing there was, changed the light bulbs and all and he's going around changing them.
yeah, he told me today that one of the guys that he has working for him did some work on life safety in the last couple of weeks, just as a part of his normal routine. And on the life safety report, the cost of what he did was $80,000,
Yeah.
obviously. Because the costs on the life safety report
Is a general
are
summary from an architect.
significantly higher. They're
Right.
set by the architect based on the fact that you're going to go out to an outside organization to do all of this work. You're not going to do any of it internally.
Yeah, but wasn't a demolition of the stadium a life safety expenditure?
Right, but we can't
did not
charge-
claim that, though.
We can't pay anything out of life safety until we
state
issue the
approves.
bonds.
Right.
So we can
So-
only put expenditures on life safety that we can pay with bonds? I mean,
Correct, until there's money in the
What if
account.
what if
can't-
we, got a $100 million donation to the school, and we didn't need bonds, but we were gonna spend $9 million on life safety, we wouldn't record the cost as a life safety in the fund because we're not
Not in
issuing
the life
bonds?
safety fund, because there's no revenue there's no money in that fund.
Oh, okay.
So when we issue the bonds in the first part of October, and that money goes into the life safety fund, then when we make a payment to the August board meeting, a part of that payment is gonna come out of the life safety fund.
Yeah, I think he understands, and what we need to assure the board is that we're tracking the items that are being addressed and the money we're saving or addressing by doing stuff in-house.
And Joel is tracking.
So that when, at the end of the day, when it says, hey, we use 7.6 million of bonded money to address these items, but we told the community we had 9, Joel should be able to bring in an Excel sheet with the report, or the report to show internally we addressed this much items out of our regular operations, maintenance, and custodial support.
We should be able to tell on every line item on that 10-year list how we completed it. And
Right, and we are
Right.
tracking that. I think what
Okay.
Tim wanted to do, though, what Mr. Walsh wanted to do, though, was to have everything coming out of one fund. But the way the school accounting works is really that fund is only for when you're having revenue come in from
Okay.
the bonds.
Right, and you can't pay for anything with a life safety for work that was done before the state approved it as a life safety
No,
project.
that part I understood, I just didn't understand why you had to match your revenues and expenditures based on what the bonds are issued, because we are paying for some of the life safety work out of the general fund.
Right.
You're saying because the general revenues are in 10, you don't want to put the life safety costs that are matched against those in 90, because you'd have to like transfer some money into the
Right.
revenue on that,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Like we went through this year, when you did with Joel's budget, when we established his budget amount, and we said, hey, how much do you need to address some of the life safety items, like buying the fire caulk and some of that? We built that into his regular operations and maintenance budget, the
Okay.
supply budget. Mr. Walsh was saying, like, should that be being tracked out of life safety, because it's addressing life safety items? But we don't need to account for
That's
that.
fine.
That's a fund that tracks how we spend our life safety bond money.
Correct.
And when I come back in August with the budget, I'm gonna, now that we've passed the resolution to issue the bonds, and I've worked with the architect to determine exactly what dollars are life safety and what dollars are capital projects. So I'm gonna change the budget around. I'll reduce the capital projects budget, and then I'll put in a budget for life safety fund.
Okay.
Anything further on the reporting side? And
Yeah, cell tower revenue.
Yes.
So I'm assuming Verizon's got the highest spot on the tower?
It's the most recent contract we negotiated.
I would say,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the location on the tower, right?
I would think Sprint would, since they built
Well,
the
I
tower.
mean, Sprint's got based on the higher the place on the tower, you get more revenue on the higher the tower.
Sprint built the tower and built in a future price in a contract that were.
So how long are these, could you go follow up with how long these contracts were locked into these revenue, these monthly rentals are?
I believe Sprint built the tower and Sprint put themselves on top.
Right, because Sprint was originally on the smokestack that got knocked down during the $66 million renovation.
Yeah.
And in order for losing that space, they waived their fees to build the tower.
We had a
Yeah, but I mean,
I
if you're
can-
talking about a guy somebody who we're getting 3,500 a month and they're in mid, and you got a guy on the top who's only paying us 17, have they already recouped the cost of building that
Well,
tower, and are we
have a
now?
It's contractually.
I know, that's why I'm asking
Yeah, they-
how long we're
Just
locked
see how long
into.
we're
bad,
locked in.
Right.
if we locked ourselves into some bad contracts
Well,
back when we
I
did
think we
this.
just had the opportunity with the AT&T. Remember, they offered us about a year ago. You were on my finance advisory council. I think they offered us $100,000 up front or $200,000 up front, but then they wanted no fees for the next 20 or 25 years. We turned that down because we figured out even if they were paying, we'd make more money doing it the way we were doing it. So why don't you check and see what the contract is?
Yeah, I
for
think
Sprint.
they go at least another
But
10
I'd
years.
also be a little cautious saying we
Yeah.
make a bad deal. We had to terminate an agreement.
Yeah,
There's always a cost to do that.
I don't know.
Just look at,
I will.
it's a moot point if we got so many
Mhm.
years remaining, or
Yeah.
Right.
All you want to do is just report back on that length of
What's
the
the
contract.
duration?
Okay?
Yep,
Are you done reporting?
yes.
Are we done with
Yeah, I'm
questions on
done.
this side? Laura? Any other questions here? All right.
Bills, right?